questions we wrestle with as Christians about who God is, how do we live out our faith, what is the Bible, what is the truth of the Bible, what are we supposed to believe, how are we supposed to live. There are really big, deep questions that we ask each other, that we ask God, that we wrestle with ourselves. And that's why the Cultivate podcast exists, to help us go deeper in our understanding of who God is, His Word, and the way that He's called us to live.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Cultivate podcast. I'm starting it off this time with the big cheese.
Squeak.
Squeak, squeak. Nah, we got Charlie, your girl Gail. I changed it up. I'm going full MC right now.
Okay, yeah.
No, Abigail, podcast producer, creative director, Charlie, great question answerer.
Question asker, question answerer.
Yes. And we've gone
Synergy.
on two episodes now, and we barely made it through my list. And you gave the lofty promise that we could get into predestination, but then we ended on something that you could say I could do this episode with.
Yeah.
So who knows if we'll get through everything this time, but
we'll try.
We'll try. Yeah, who knows? There may be more Q&A episodes.
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
As one thing I know of, Abigail always has more questions.
More questions to throw out there. All right, I'll take that. Well, we had ended on the topic of, I was going to ask you, what is the difference between insecurity and conviction? Because I think some people get the kind of nerves when they think like, oh, have I lost my salvation, or like something like that. And I think maybe a good way to reframe it for them is ask like, are you feeling insecure or are you feeling convicted? So how would you kind of help someone navigate that or think through that?
Right. So I guess the way I'm understanding the question is, I'm sitting here minding my own business. Now I'm feeling some measure of anxiety or uncertainty around whether or not I am a believer.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So if that's the case, I would say if that's the case, you've probably got a theological problem. It is really unlikely that there are a lot of non-Christians out there wondering whether or not they're saved.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, there is obviously a possibility of someone kind of coming to hey, I've been kind of trusting in this cheap, easy believism that I had. Maybe I've never really fully given my life to Christ. Right. Is different than someone thinking, I know I've given my life to Christ, but I feel like maybe now I'm not, like something has happened. There's a difference between questioning whether or not I ever in the past made a genuine decision to follow Jesus, and whether or not maybe now I have done something to break that. Yeah. If the second, like I think I've lost something that I'm pretty sure I had, that's a theological problem. I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong, especially when someone is still relatively young, to look back and say, can I really say for certain that I've fully given my life to Jesus? I mean, there comes a point when you're 53 years old and you've been in ministry for 31 years. That's not a question that I ask very often. My questions more revolve around being tired. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Do I really have what it takes to kind of keep going is the kinds of questions that I ask. I'm not really asking questions anymore about, I wonder if the decision I made at 7 was legitimate, or it really wasn't until that decision I made at 12, or really was it 19? I don't know. I don't really, and you put those three together. I don't know, Abigail, I'm not sure if there's enough evidence yet to say one way or another whether or not I've really kind of dedicated my life to Jesus or not. I mean, there comes a point where you're like, man, I could be better. I could do something better, and I want to finish well, but I'm not asking those sorts of questions. So I think that it's a really good question to ask someone when you're young, because it can kind of give you kind of like, I want to feel like my feet are fully grounded in this. That is what I did. It is still what I want. It is who I want to be, because there is a sense in which like you make a decision for Christ, but it's like I want to feel like both my feet are fully grounded and I'm on solid, and this is who I am. This is what I want, and I'm going forward. I think it's good to kind of solidify your own convictions about, I want to be a follower of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got, all of a sudden, I think I'm a follower of Christ, but, to use kind of stereotypical college student kind of stuff, but I've been sleeping with my girlfriend too much.
Right.
I've been getting drunk on the weekends at parties or whatever. Maybe I'm not really a Christian.
Well, I think it can also kind of feel like I've sinned my way out of the gift I once had.
Right. And so that's a theological problem paired with what you said. I'm feeling some conviction around sin. I need to do something about that. That's one thing. But if your brain is going to, I've lost my salvation, you've got a theological problem.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like so either one, because again, everybody God foreknew, he also predestined.
Right.
And everyone he predestined, he also justified. And everyone he justified, he also glorified.
We should put that as a neon sign behind us.
And so for just forever.
Yeah.
And then the bridge diagram.
Right, yeah, right below it. Yeah.
All together.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions. Either I know that I was justified, and so I just need to take some deep breaths and know that the promise that whether or not I'll be glorified is something that God has promised. So I'm good. Or is the fact that I am messing up at the level that I am is making me not think I lost my salvation, but is giving me pause to think about, have I really made a genuine decision to follow Christ? Because there's a part of me, it's like if I had made a genuine decision to follow Christ, I'd be further along than what I am right now. So I just want to think about that and just kind of either commit or recommit in my heart to, I want to be a fully devoted follower of Jesus. And so I'm going to press on with this moment. I'm going to plant another flag in the ground and say, I had another kind of crossroads in my life, and I planted a flag at this crossroads. I want to be a follower of Jesus. And I'm not going to get anxious about whether or not that was the first and most important flag, or no, this is just kind of a recommitment to a thing. But if you're wondering, like, I know that's genuine, but I'm worried I've got it lost now, that is a theological problem. We just need to read Romans 8 until you've got it memorized.
Right, yeah. Well, it reminds me of, it was such a simple thing, but a really powerful thing that my counselor said to me was when I was, as you mentioned last episode, I came to you and said, I think I'm at 0 and I don't think there really is a God, like all those things. But I was at a place where I kind of had the wrong mindset theologically of thinking that I had sinned my way out of a gift. And her response was just, that's not the God that I know. I was like, interesting. So maybe I know the wrong God. Like it really stopped me of her pointing out that it was a theological misstep of assuming that fear could be true. So I think that is like a good, I like that because I mean, we're probably not going to stand before God and him be looking at our flag post and think, well, you put the flag wrong. You're remembering the wrong date. That's probably not what he's going to be asking about. So this is completely off topic, but as I took a sip of my water, I got water on my upper lip. You remember when there used to be just like a whole commercial ad campaign for milk?
Yeah, I do remember that.
There's no brand. It was just milk. It
was just the American Dairy Association, wasn't it? Wasn't that who was putting that out?
I don't know. I was
or
like,
the National Milk Association.
They just really wanted to sell the idea of drink milk.
Yeah.
Like we could do an ad campaign for apples or
like
bananas.
And they're pitching it like it's so this is all about health and calcium, but it's people who make money when milk gets bought.
Yeah. It just took me back that we don't really have commercials like that anymore.
Always thought milk on your lip, it was disgusting.
Oh, it is disgusting.
It was not like, oh man, look, they're drinking so much.
That.
That's fun. That's gross. It's just gross. It's not clever. It's not cute. It's just gross.
That's funny. All right. Well, let's see if we can hop into the predestination discussion. Okay. So I guess in that, say the Romans verse again.
Those he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed into the image of his Son. And those he predestined, he also justified. And those he justified, he also glorified.
All right. So you said two very key words there, foreknew and predestined.
Right.
First, give a definition of them and how they are different from each other, if they are different.
I knew before we started this Q&A podcast. I knew in advance.
You foreknew?
Yeah. That you had more questions than we had time for. I knew that in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just knowledge. It's knowledge that I had in advance of something happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so foreknowledge is knowing about something before it happens.
Okay.
Me say, well, Charlie, you were just guessing. I mean, sure, on some level. I didn't have mystical powers to know.
Right.
But anyways, from God's perspective, it's like there's a sense in which he knows what is going to happen before it happens to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's foreknowledge.
Okay.
Predestination is something about the future was predetermined before the actual actions that led up to it, right? Like you can look at somebody and be like, I can tell they're about to trip. That's foreknowledge. It's another thing to be the one holding the rope and
say,
pull it really tight and then trip them.
Yeah.
Right? That there was a plan to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have a choice but to trip.
Mm-hmm.
So I can know that you're going to trip, but that doesn't mean that there was some plan to deliberately make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
So to say something is predestined means that circumstances beyond your control made something happen to you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, there are a few small things like that. It was predestined that before you were born, you were going to be raised in the Methodist Church.
Sure.
It was predetermined,
mm-hmm.
and you did not have any,
like, by the fact that my parents were already going there.
Yeah, you didn't have any choice in the matter.
Yeah.
There's nothing about you didn't have any free will in that matter. It was chosen for you and destined by circumstances
mm-hmm.
before you and outside of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And so predestination, depending on what specifically we're talking about, is that there are some aspects of your life that are not determined by your choices,
mm-hmm.
but were created in advance.
Okay. All right. Well, these are going to take some heady directions, and you're going to clean up my thoughts as we go.
Perf.
So when I think of predestination in this context, it makes me think that there's some kind of like inevitable, compelling force that's going to make you choose God at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's talking about? Or is it like he just knows that at some point I created everyone, but I'm only going to make 3/4 of them choose me?
So now we're on to not defining the term, but defining the means by which the thing happens.
Okay.
Right? And so before you were created, did God know that you were going to be saved?
Yes.
So he foreknew you.
Yes.
Right? So we'll
because he's in this timeline.
Okay, yeah. So now we're back. Now we're timeline. We talked about that here in this podcast, and I talk about it all the time. We've talked about
yeah. Well, I told you that I always think of Loki, seeing the tethers going.
Yeah. So God, you know, if God exists outside of time and outside of space, then He created our universe. He created it beginning to end
mm-hmm.
at one time, right? If we genuinely believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then everything got created. If everything got created all at once, then from God's perspective, you were and have always been saved.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's not like, all right, well, let's just kind of wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just kind of wait and see. And we'll see what happens to Abigail, and that God is somehow following you on the timeline,
right?
Wondering what's going to happen. No. God's got foreknowledge. Well, that's, so is God really good at predicting the future, or does He already live in the future?
Right.
He doesn't live in. If He doesn't live in particular time, and He lives above it, if you live above time and you create something that has a beginning and an end, then you created all of it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't create you and then see what you would do, and I'm really good at predicting.
Mhm.
I created your entire lifespan at the moment of creation.
Mhm.
If that's the case,
Mhm.
if what I'm saying is the case, if we can honestly say God is not just simply eternal in the sense that he's always been and always will, but is eternal in the sense that he is not bound up by time at all. He
Mhm.
exists not just simply everywhere at once, but every when at once.
Mhm.
If that's true, then the mechanism of how did God predestine you was when he created.
Right.
He created all of the circumstances by which this not was always going to be the outcome. This here
So
it is.
Then he also created people to not choose him.
So now we're getting to kind of some heady things.
Mhm.
There are people that like to think of it in terms of what's called single predestination and double predestination.
Never heard of it.
Single predestination is he predestined people to follow him and then
Mhm.
left everybody else up to their own devices.
Okay.
And double predestination is at the same time he's determining that some people are going to go to heaven, he is also choosing and picking some people to go to hell.
Mm.
For practical purposes, those are the same thing.
Yes.
Because
they sound the
practically
exact same.
speaking, the exact same number of people end up both
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
So it's not like, well, I mean, when you kind of only single predestination, there might be some people that kind of slip in. No
Right.
one slips in by all the theology of the things that we've talked about already up until this point. And so if that's the case, then really single predestination is the kind of thing that you tell yourself to kind of make it softer.
Mm-hmm.
But then a single predestination advocate will be like, no, it's not about softer. It's about what the Bible teaches. And the Bible teaches that he chooses some people. It doesn't say he chooses to not choose people. It just he chooses some.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he may be establishing their fate by not choosing them,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not technically the same thing as choosing them for bad.
Okay.
I can tell by your face that you are absolutely
It still sounds bad.
loving this.
It's like cutting through with a fine-tooth comb.
Talk to me.
Well, it's like, well, no, you didn't not get invited to the party. You just didn't receive an invitation.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, the same thing is still the outcome.
Well, I mean, yeah. So when I choose who's going to come to the party, I make a list. This is who I want to come to the party.
Mm-hmm.
Do I make a second list?
The people who are not.
Here
to the
are a
party?
list of all of the people who aren't going to. It would take a minute.
Yeah, but then
Because I'm only inviting 10 people to the
party.
party. There are 8 billion minus 10 people that I'm not inviting to the party. It means that I'm actively choosing them to, to not come. I mean, I guess
almost
say
like you're-
it this way. I'm choosing these people to be saved. I'm allowing these people to experience the consequence of their own decisions.
But that wasn't a decision.
What wasn't a decision?
They didn't get invited.
But the decisions that they are making is they're choosing sin.
But before they chose sin, they're not invited.
Well, so now we're talking about kind of an act. Like I said, are we talking about an active predestination where God's like, okay, I'm going to ultimately, by the time the whole world ends, there are going to be 30 billion people that live in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and write down, okay, there's Steve, and there's John the Baptist, and there's Abigail, and there's Abraham, and Charlie Lofton, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, or is it really just kind of describing God just created, right? He just created, and as a part of that natural process, there are some people and choosing is the best way to describe that, but really it's more.
So is it kind of more like, this is going to be a really bizarre comparison. I've decided I'm going to get a chicken coop, But I already know some of them are not going to survive. And some of them will, and they will produce eggs.
That's
He doesn't like it.
Well, no. I mean, it's a perfectly fine illustration of something. That is an illustration of people who don't believe in predestination trying to soften it to a significant, soften it enough where they feel fine about it.
Okay.
Right? Where it's like God creates the universe and is like, and he creates all the circumstances, knowing in advance not everybody's going to make it, and knowing in advance. And he's smart enough to know, which is smarter than you as the chicken coop owner, right? He's smart enough to know exactly which chickens will make it and which ones won't.
Right.
And so he created the circumstances. He knew this was a consequence. He's smart enough to know which are which.
But he still let them both live.
But he still let them kind of make their own decisions. And so that's kind of where we kind of get into kind of what I think are kind of the practical implications of this, which is, Abigail, did you choose to follow Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Yes. Did God know you were going to make that choice before you did?
Yes.
Did God create all of the circumstances in your life that led to you doing that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then if God created all the circumstances and it was really kind of based then, that's the only thing you could have done. Did you really choose him?
I want to say yes.
Yes, I did. I did choose him because, again, when we talk about predestination versus choosing or having free will or whatever, we're talking about what is life like on my timeline and what is life like where God is, where there is no timeline. That's two very different perspectives on the universe. From God's perspective, everything that ever has happened or will happen exists as one thing in his mind. And when he created it, he created all of it. And he created it with full knowledge and awareness of exactly who was and wasn't going to choose him.
Do you think he was sad that he created things that weren't going to choose him?
And so now
that sounds really petty, but genuinely asking.
We're trying to figure out the motives of someone who lives way up here, who creates timelines in an instant. Why would a God... And then from our perspective, he is wanting us down here to willingly choose him. And he obviously, there was something that he didn't have that he wanted that inspired him to create us. He wanted to create us. There was some desire that he had that made him want to do this. But the only way someone that powerful can do this, because he lives above the timeline, is to create something that, if you look at it from a certain perspective, everything was predetermined. But from our perspective, it's not predetermined. He wanted us, he wanted there to be a group of beings that have a measure of freedom that got to experience how wonderful and how gracious he is.
Right.
And I think once we start getting into, man, what are the motivations of an eternal being to create limited beings to essentially what feels like, logically, a predetermined course of life, because what he says that he wants is to be able to be in relationship with us. But he wants us to have a measure of freedom. But someone as powerful and big and outside of time as God can't really create what from his perspective is full freedom, but is from our perspective full freedom. So he's receiving from us, even though it was predetermined, he is receiving from us our saying to him, based on everything that I know, I want to worship you. And that is providing something for him that he wanted, not needed.
Yeah.
To be theology proper precise here, but it is something that he wanted, and he wanted it. And you can kind of keep going to what feels like logical conclusions, and you'll end up at that doesn't make sense, because we can't reconcile what we feel and experience on this timeline to what he's experiencing, because on some level it doesn't seem like, if what we're saying is true, that God exists way up here and we exist on this timeline, and he already knew in advance everything because he created it all at once, what pleasure does God receive then from my devotion? Because in the same way he created me, he created the devotion.
Right.
So I down here, and all I can think about is what it's like on my timeline, and I can imagine what this is. Then it is hard for me. It is really hard for me. And now I'm not speaking in the hypothetical, and I'm just saying real. It's really hard for me to imagine and fully comprehend what I would say these are what God's motives are.
Right.
This is what motivates God.
Because you don't know.
All I can really do is try to put English words to kind of compare to things that I know that motivate me.
Right. And then try and map that onto something.
Right. I know why we had 2 daughters, and I know why we went out and adopted one. And God uses that, and God/Paul in Romans to describe what it is like. He uses adoption as a metaphor, and I can totally connect with that. And on some level, on my timeline, God is a God who just kind of sits maybe just right above our timeline and created us and is watching us and loves us the way that a dad does. I can relate to that. But if you're going to go up several levels of order to really kind of make God bigger than what you can even comprehend, then the reality is there is no way for him to communicate to us what his true motives are, because he's got to, ready for a fancy word,
Love it.
he's got to anthropomorphize himself a little bit to even explain to us some version of what his motives are. But if we were rid ourselves of the anthropomorphization and just kind of put God where we know he is and says, what motivates him? Okay, my brain just short-circuited.
Right.
Which is why, in part, anybody who ever caught even a glimpse of the shadow of God
It was too much.
is terrified and overwhelmed.
Or they have glimmering faces.
Right? And they have glimmering faces.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to let my shadow, you cover your face, and I'm going to let the backside of my shadow pass by, and you'll get something. Well, now your face glows for a week.
Which
And you didn't really see anything.
Craziest thing.
Well, you send Isaiah up there, and the room is so full of mist, you can't really see anything. But whatever he was experiencing was like, I shouldn't be here. Too much. Shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. Please. And then they burn his tongue with a charcoal, and he's like, okay, well, this is better now.
Better.
Well, now I'm fine. Now
This is preferable.
I'm going to, okay, now you're fine. Okay. Right. And so I think the problem comes from we are trying to reconcile our reality with his reality in a way that makes sense. And if I try to reconcile my reality with his, my brain short circuits.
Right.
If I try to reconcile his with mine, I've made God very small.
Yeah.
Then God becomes, and I know I've talked about this in other contexts. I was surprised anybody outside of nerd world like me was even put this question together, but it's like, there's a thing called process theology, which is God had enough power to get things going, but doesn't really have the ability to kind of control things. And he's just kind of walking along the timeline. He really is more just like a dad. I have enough power as a dad to, with my wife, make a kid, but I don't have any means by which to control that kid. I can shape that kid, and I hope for the best. And maybe this God is smart enough to know what's going to happen, but really he's just kind of carrot and a stick, right? He's like, please, 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 yay, please, 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 oh, don't, yay, don't. I mean, that's really all he's doing. So we reduce God to something, and so we either reduce God to something significantly less than what he is, or we short circuit our own brain trying to have our reality make sense with a God that is an infinite number of levels above what we are.
Yeah.
My best illustration of this is, Abigail, I want you to communicate the color purple to an ant.
It's just impossible.
And so if, it's, and you try to imagine that both from the ant's perspective and from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So from the ant's perspective,
It's like,
it would just be like, I don't even know. Where's the food at? And then from your perspective, it's like, I'm limited not in my ability, but I'm limited by the nature of this created being. There's really actually only a limited number of things I can communicate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is, here's where the food is.
Right.
I can do that. It's not that God can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just based on the limitations of the person, we can't receive it. And so there eventually comes a point where we chase this down enough and think it through deeply enough where you end up with,
I'm just not him.
I just can't. And I'm either going to end up in a place where, again, God is very small, or this doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. But I think if you end up at some point where you're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about it. Hey, you're probably at a decent spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're meant to hang out there and kind of just meditate there.
Yeah.
Because the bigger God gets, I think the better things are.
100%. I would say that about this whole series, that the bigger that we've expounded on these ideas, the more compelling that he is of wanting to have a relationship with him, even though he's getting bigger and more confusing.
Right.
So, well, I won't mention who the person's name is that said this quote, just because it might isolate some. But I want to get your take on it.
Okay.
So it is along the lines of these things, but he was saying he doesn't want to believe in free will because he doesn't trust himself to choose God every day. And so he believes in predestination because that's the only way he could be saved.
Right.
And to some aspects, I'm like, yeah, that's fair. I'm human. I'm sinful. But I did choose God when I was sitting outside of my office in Bentonville and was like, yeah, I want this.
All right, for my own sake, this is a semi-famous person that
yes,
is okay.
Very
okay.
famous.
Make sure we're not talking about somebody we know.
No. Very
right.
famous at a very big conference. They said this.
Okay. So whether or not you choose to believe in free will or choose to believe in predestination, just like when we talked about this earlier, we were talking about hell and what my God would and wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
What you choose to believe about free will and predestination is completely and totally irrelevant to the reality on the ground.
Okay. So
You know
this
what I
is
mean?
like
I just can't believe in free will because I know I won't choose God. Like, okay.
Where would you put it in the theology house?
It's
A garden gnome?
it's overly simplistic thinking.
Okay.
It's overly simplistic thinking because the reality is I don't believe in free will doesn't mean that you don't have it on some level.
Mm-hmm.
I have full freedom right now to say whatever I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I could drop 7 F-bombs right now, ruin my reputation.
Right.
Well, then I guess I would probably then be like, I'm begging you to cut it out.
I'd be like, nah, I got blackmail.
Or then now you've got like I have the freedom.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I do things and bad things happen.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can sit here and show you my phone case. There's all sorts of cracks on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I do things and things have consequences. If I had kept my phone in my pocket, it wouldn't have like I do things and things happen. I say something mean to my wife and something bad happens. My actions have consequences on the world that I live in. My actions have consequences, and I could have chosen something different than what I did from my perspective, and that's just true. Because if it's not true, then what? I mean, I'm separated from God because of sin.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. I mean, and so I'm trying to explain what my reality is like as if I live and sit right next to God from his reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can say, I am thankful that all of this is in God's hands. Because that's what Romans 8's about.
Mm-hmm.
Right here on the wall
Yeah.
behind us. That's what Romans 8's about. You don't have to be so nervous.
Yeah.
Because God's got this from beginning to end, and he says he's not going to lose anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to lose anybody. You can take comfort in the fact that it is not going to be a series of choices on your part that are going to get you from justified to glorified.
Mm-hmm.
You can take comfort in that, because not only can you have full assurance of making it that far, but it was actually God's hand all along that got you to the point that you're at right now.
Yeah.
So rest in that. I think we were meant to rest in predestination and live in free will.
Put that on a pillow.
You understand what I'm saying? You understand? Is that intuitive enough?
Yeah,
kind of what
no,
I'm
no,
saying
no.
there. It's like
I think that
when
makes
I
a lot
think
of
about
sense.
predestination, I'm supposed to be comforted by the fact that God has all of this in his hands.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to how I'm going to treat you, Abigail, as a person,
Right.
I need to live as if free will is true, because what I choose to do in any given moment will have real life consequences for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I choose to live in a way like my choices have real consequences. And so therefore I'm going to treat you with a certain level of respect and kindness and all these things. I'm not going to live like someone who...
Well, God made me do that.
God made me do that, right? And you can take that into the more noble categories. Like some people are like, what's the point of evangelism?
Right. Well, and that's where a lot of the Calvinism and Arminianism, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
A lot of that can get
Knowledge of
debate of
predestination
evangelism.
is not supposed to modify your behavior. It is supposed to calm your anxiety. That's the point of Romans 8.
Mm-hmm.
God's got it. There's nothing that can separate you from the love of God. You're fine. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just be fine. And then let's read James again.
Right.
Bro, you got things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Go do them.
Right.
And if a poor person comes into your church and you treat them terrible, that's not good. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, it was predestined that the poor guy was going to have to sit at my feet. Right? That's just the right way of thinking about it. So I can believe that both of these things are true, and then I apply each one to its appropriate context. And then if I want to, I can spend a certain amount of time getting lost in trying to reconcile them, ultimately end up in mystery, and then be really excited about that, because then I realize yet again, even at a deeper level, how big the God is that I worship. So then even at a deeper level, now I can even trust him more, because he's even bigger than I thought that he was. Just in case I'm wondering, can he really hold the universe together with his hand?
He's got the whole wide world in his hands. Man, you really tied that with a bow on, Pop. I didn't expect it to go that way.
Did you feel good about that?
Yeah, I've never heard it put that way, so
Okay.
that was really cool.
Yeah. So it's probably as good a time as any.
Oh, this is my
to
podcast.
call it. Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I'm going to
I
suggest
think
then,
right
Abigail.
there we should wrap it up. I think we've done enough today.
I could hand a lot of things off to you, Abigail, but
this part you should probably do.
I should never hand. Oh no, I'm happy with you to wrap it up, but I can't have you be the one to decide now is the time to wrap it up.
No, because I would go on and I would start late.
How many questions does Abigail have? The question is always Pirates of the Caribbean, the original one.
Love it.
Where she I blank on stage names sometimes. When Keira Knightley comes to Orlando Bloom, it's like, how many times will I have to get you to stop calling me Miss Swan? And he goes, at least once more.
Yeah.
Miss Swan.
Man, I love
How many more questions does Abigail?
At least one more.
How many questions does Abigail have? At least one more. But we should be done.
All right, we can wrap it up there. Well, can I really do the wrap up? Well, if you want to know more about any of these topics, I really would encourage you to go back through any of the previous episodes. We did 6 of soteriology,
and then six topical ones, and now 3 Q&As.
And now 3 Q&A. So you've got a lot of stuff to dig into. But if there's anything else that you're curious about with our church, you can go to thegrovechurch.com cultivate.org/connect. He's looking away. He's not going to help me.
Multimedia content producer and website manager for the Grove Church is questioning what our website is.
But you can find us there. Send us any questions if you're interested in visiting us or need anything that we could do for you guys. We would love to help you out and meet you wherever you're at. But until next time, Charlie, thanks for hanging.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, glad to be here, and we'll see you guys for the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Cultivate podcast. Our hope is that you are taking steps to go deeper in your faith, that you are asking big questions and you're looking for answers. We hope that we can be a resource for you through our podcast and any other way that we can help you. You can find all our episodes anywhere that you can find podcasts, including YouTube. And again, thank you so much for joining us.